Empires collapse. Libraries burn. Temples fall. Languages disappear. Borders change. Yet some teachings survive. Why? Because wisdom does not only live in books. It lives in movement. It lives in ritual. It lives in memory. It lives in the body. Throughout history, human beings have repeatedly placed wisdom into walking, into fasting, into dancing, into pilgrimage, into song, into posture, into ceremony. Perhaps because the body remembers what the mind forgets. And perhaps this is why the code survived. Welcome to episode 5 of the Code Survive series. Many traditions describe the human being as layered. The body, the mind, the emotions, the spirit. Some traditions speak of additional levels. The astral body, the causal body, the spiritual body. The language changes. The principle remains. Human beings appear to exist on multiple levels simultaneously. The body requires food. The mind requires meaning. The emotions require relationship. The spirit requires transcendence. If human beings exist on multiple levels, perhaps transmission occurs on multiple levels as well. The ancient Nile Valley encoded this principle into its very architecture. The temple mirrored the cosmos. The human being mirrored the temple. African builders understood. The sacred above finds its reflection in the sacred below. The landscape reflects consciousness. Throughout this channel, we have explored the possibility that sacred geography mirrors the human being. Mountains, rivers, hearts, brains, communities. Perhaps the earth itself is teaching us something. The mountain exists outside. The mountain exists inside. The river exists outside. The river exists inside. The sacred landscape may mirror the sacred human being. Isaiah Shembe called Nhlangakazi, or Sinai, not because he borrowed from another tradition, because he recognized what the mountain already was, a place of encounter, where heaven and earth meet, where higher understanding descends into the human being. Nhlangakazi became precisely such a place, the outer mountain, the inner mountain, the elevated place. Shembe encoded this understanding into the mountain itself, into the pilgrimage, into the body of every person who walked. Even Western metaphysical teachers like Charles Fillmore arrived at similar conclusions through philosophy. Shembe arrived through living, through walking, through leading a people up the mountain with their own feet. Shembe called Ekuphakameni our Jerusalem, not because he borrowed from another tradition, because he recognized something universal and named it in his own language. Ekuphakameni became a place of gathering, of connection, of love, of renewal, the center, the heart, the place of harmony, the place where a wounded people came to remember who they were. Again, Western metaphysical teachers like Charles Fillmore arrived at a similar understanding through philosophy, that Jerusalem represents the heart, the center, the place of spiritual peace. Shembe arrived at the same truth through living, through building, through calling a people home. The teaching did not travel from the West to Africa. The same truth surfaced in both places, because some truths belong to no single tradition. They belong to the human being itself. Earlier on this channel, we explored one of Shembe's remarkable teachings, the 12-room mansion. Why 12? This question takes us into complex territory. Much of what African sacred traditions knew about numbers, cycles, and cosmic organization traveled through oral transmission, living in ceremony, in song, in the bodies of elders. Colonial disruption fractured much of that continuity. What we can trace, the solar year completes itself in 12 months, 12 full seasons of light. Shembe's mansion has 12 rooms, one for every month the sun travels, one for every season the soul must pass through. To walk through all 12 rooms is to complete one full cycle of becoming. The number 12 appears across Hebrew, Christian, and astrological traditions as a symbol of completion suggests something older than all of them. A principle embedded in natural cycles that African people observed and encoded long before those traditions wrote it down. Shembe's 12 rooms may carry that same ancient understanding, not borrowed from elsewhere, remembered from within. Why have human beings repeatedly placed wisdom into movement, into rhythm, into pilgrimage, into fasting, into ceremony? Perhaps because the body remembers what the mind forgets. A child may not understand every teaching, but the child walks, the child sings, the child dances. The body receives before the intellect understands. Ideas may disappear, books may vanish, languages may change. The body becomes the archive. The body becomes the vessel. Shembe rarely taught abstract philosophy. He taught through movement, song, pilgrimage, sacred action. Perhaps his people had endured too much survival to engage metaphysics through books. And so he taught through things people could walk, things people could wear, things people could sing. What philosophers explained through language, he revealed through embodiment. The teaching entered the body. The landscape, the pilgrimage, the code became flesh. And perhaps this is why it survived. Jerusalem exists outside. Jerusalem exists inside. The temple exists outside. The temple exists inside. As within, so without. Perhaps sacred geography teaches us because we ourselves are sacred geography. It entered stories, families, communities, pilgrimages, mountains, and finally, the human being, the living altar. Books can burn, temples can fall, empires can collapse, languages can disappear, but a teaching placed into the body can survive generations. Because the body remembers, the body walks, the body sings, the body carries, and perhaps this is the deepest secret of transmission. The code survived because it entered the human vessel itself. If the body is a vessel, what conditions allow that vessel to flourish? What happens when survival consumes attention? What happens when communities weaken? What happens when meaning disappears? Perhaps the next question is not, where is the code stored? But, what conditions allow the vessel to continue transmitting? That is episode 6. I am the biological altar. If this video resonated with you, please subscribe, like, and share with those ready to awaken.